Miss Marvel is a short to medium range melee focused brawler, with her long range options being limited to her heroic assault ability. To make up for this, she is an absolute powerhouse in medium range, due to her ability to specialize into several different types of utility, 3-string count heavy attack combos to synergize with her perks, and wide sweeping normals that cause crowd control at medium range. Power attacks that don't leave her as vulnerable as other characters in the cast, and several options to break shields, as well as every single one of her heroic abilities being extremely useful. With one of the best heroic ultimates in the game, it turns bullet sponge enemies into paper, and a move set and skill tree with staggering amounts of utility, is it any wonder I am absolutely confident that the amazing Miss Marvel is just that, and will be useful and highly effective for any situation or objective, providing it isn't shooting something at long range. I'm going to be showing you how I build Miss Marvel, and other potential builds that you could use in order to be highly effective. As always, this is early game testing. We've had about 3 days with the full version of the game, so take this with a grain of salt. And if anything changes or any new testing comes to light, most likely be putting out a new video or updating this one with annotations. And with that, let's get down to brass tacks. So as far as light attacks go, Miss Marvel's lights are meaty. They do have wide range, real sweeping. Very great character. You can actually kind of just move if you're not locked on to someone, you can take your character and pivot them left and right and extend the arc of her medium attacks in order to hit more enemies with each swing. If you see how they're very wide, you can kind of turn your character and extend that a little bit while they're in the air flying. You can kind of move yourself left and right as you're swinging and, hit a wider range of enemies. Then we got the wallop. This is one of her options to break shields. I use this a lot when I'm not surrounded by enemies. It can leave you vulnerable for a little bit while you're in the air, so that's the only downside to it. But it is very fast animations, not too many frames, so it's overall fairly safe. And now we got your standard options here. You'll have one for each sprint, heavy attack, and light attack. And this one, I prefer the light attacks one typically more when I'm facing groups of enemies, as they tend to have, as you can see, this one covers a little bit wider of an area. Also, her CC is very nice. It doesn't displace enemies away from everyone. It keeps them in place, turns them around, so you don't have to worry about knocking people out of your allies' attacks, which is always very useful, just to help clean up enemies faster. And then we have leg sweep. This is the light attack version of your dodge option. Very good, very potent. Even though it shows it happening really early on in the dodge, you can actually use her attack much later in the dodge as well. So you can extend your invincibility frames and then transition that into a really wide sweeping, almost 180-degree attack that, again, trips enemies, knocks them into the ground. They fall right on the ground, keeps them in place. Light attacks are very good to transition optionally out of either dashing or dodging. And let's see here. So this is her aerial string, very nice. The finisher on the end of it is very wide swinging, as you can see right there. Very good for light combo finishers right here. If you have a lot of gear procs and you're going for light combo finishers, maybe look to focusing on a aerial build with aerial combos. And then this is your aerial one, much better. Typically, I don't like floating in the air, but this also brings you down to the ground. It looks like it's a shorter frame count than her grounded version. Overall, a great option. I tend to go in with her heavies, but we'll get in on that next. So now we have the extended heavy finisher combo. It's fairly good. I don't use this too often, but as you can see, it's got very good medium range on that. It's just more of a single target finisher move. Typically, if you're running this combo out, you're going to end up you're probably beating combat. You're beating it up really well. You usually will have to dodge a lot or, use other abilities and stuff. So you don't really use your full light combos on the ground. This is a 6-string combo. You're probably not going to get to the end of it, but it is nice. Does very high damage, good impact and stun. These are going to be your optionals out of sprinting and dodging. As you see, this is a Longer range, less wide area of effect on the heavy attacks. So obviously this is something you're going to want to be using more for single targets. The stumble on this is quite good. Again, it doesn't knock them away. It keeps them in place. Very, very good for keeping enemies within damage and not trolling your teammates by knocking them away. All right, nice 3-string heavy attack combo. One string higher than Hulk, but it's still very nice. I tend to spam lights more with her, but again, heavy combo finisher perks. This will be the way to go to abuse this. You can get good and easy CC off of people. It's a quick string, low animations. You can dodge out of all these attacks. Very good, very powerful. Slamming and launching is perfect, as I said again, for CC. Knockaway sucks. Then we have the extended power attack. Her power attack, I've been looking at comparing them to, like, say, Hulk as a baseline. Her power attack is very nice. We'll just start off by saying that it has very short charge up in compared to a lot of the other power attacks. I'd say it's more in line with Black Widow, but this one does a good amount of high damage and block breaking, and I think Widow's is good because it breaks block, but it kind of just keeps them in place. I think that's the best bet of it, but even this is really good. The low frame count makes it a lot easier to use without feeling like you're making yourself vulnerable. I would never power attack on, like, say, Hulk, but I'll do it on Kamala. This ability is good. This is really good for taking out static things. If you're fighting big robots, this string right here, just double heavy power attack string, it'll break through both sides of the feet, and you'll hit both sides at the same time. You can do that as Hulk as well as anyone with just very long-range stationary charge attacks. Very powerful with, using elemental or status effect type attacks on your power attacks. Very effective. Don't overuse this, obviously, but in, like, tight quarters and stuff like this, her power attacks I would use as opposed to, say, Hulk or some of the other characters with, much longer charge time melee power attacks. Now there's this bad boy. This is a fairly decent string. Overall, there is some gear perks that allow you to, while airborne, take reduced damage. Very nice, very helpful for survivability. Overall, it's good. I tend to not use many air strings because those tend to be the only times I get really damaged a lot, is when I'm trying to juggle people in the air and stuff like that. You can't air dodge like Iron Man does, so you're very vulnerable. You kind of want to stay grounded with her, even though I have a really bad habit of run jumping everywhere I go. Now there's this bad boy. This is very good. Short power attack, short charge time, very high impact, breaks block, very good. Your character kind of homes in on people even when you're not automatically locked in on them. This is very good. Very good. I use this quite a bit, especially in large groups, especially for large enemies that do ground attacks. This move right here, this whole combo string is very good. At first I was pretty on the fence about it during the beta, but after playing through this a lot, level 50 up, running high challenge missions and things like that, I would say this is very effective as long as you're not bringing yourself in the air too much. Again, that is the one downside of this compared to a lot of things, is while you're in the air with Miss Marvel, that's when you're really vulnerable. And then here's the finisher. It's very good. Breaks block, medium all the way down. Unfortunately, it does knockback. That's the only downside of this. But it's a very good string overall. I really like that string. Now we have your ranged attacks. Just simple long range punch. The worst ranged attack probably out of all the roster that I've played so far. It's good. It's fun, actually, to just sit there and punch people. You can get, PEM particles, gamma radiation, etc. on your melee attacks. And as this goes down the tree, like, this is not the highest DPS, I think, that you can do, but there are some fun things you can do with this skill tree where, you just kind of kill enemies. So here's the grab. Overall, this leaves you vulnerable. You can't use intrinsic while you're using this because the keys for using this is your intrinsic trigger button. So unfortunately, those share a hotkey. As we'll see later on, there's masteries and passives for all these abilities that change the way these work, and that's mostly what we'll be focusing on. Right now, we're kind of just going the overview so you can get a good idea how these work. It's all right. It's a little janky, but still good. It's good. It's useful, and as you'll see, this transitions over to some things that are quite powerful, and you can kind of just insta-kill enemies with Crushing Grass. This is the bad boy right here. This feels really good. You can get away with just using this. If you just constantly mash X. I don't know if you're supposed to mash it, but I just mash it. And you can just sit there and just crush and crush and crush. It will drain your intrinsic energy, apologies. But it does good damage, even when you're at a power disadvantage. One downside to this, right now, it's bugged. If you have PIM particles and any sort of effects that cause you, because this is considered a power attack. So if you have something that causes PIM particles on power attack, what's gonna happen is this really seems to, I don't know what it is about this move, but it will almost always get your status effect on the enemies. And what happens is when they PIM particle, it automatically drops them out of your grasp. Super bad. Avoid PIM particles. It's so funny if you're watching my beta. If you watch some of my beta videos, I was talking all about PIM particles, but after really testing it in full, it just kind of sucks. It ruins a lot of your grabs. They just pop right out. You'll be squeezing them, and you'll just, if you have the intrinsic for this, you'll just squeeze an enemy to death. And there's almost nothing that can be done about it from the enemy unless they have a teammate come, knock you out of the grab. But you have things that can stop that too. So yeah, very good. Insta-kill enemies. Not quite as good as Hulk's dual man-wielding, but still quite effective. Basically, once you have your character all powered up, or if you build your character right, every time you do this and you kill an enemy, you'll get a heroic meter from it. It's wonderful. Now I have Nutcracker. This is alright. I use this sometimes, but I just find that the grab, just killing guys, is great. This is good to just, get people in an area, kind of slow them down a bit, and as well, this does a power attack. So that's very nice as well. You can proc power attack effects. Aerial Spike, I honestly don't really use this too much. I think it looks cool. I like how it tells you that it hits nearby enemies, and they're usually really good about showing you that, but they don't in this. I don't really use this. It's cool though. This is the only reason to use that ability, is getting elemental types, but I feel like you're already doing a power attack with enemies, so I'm not certain how this interacts with you doing power attacks that already have elements on them because of gear. I'll have to test that out. Like as I said, I don't use that very much, but that's what I'm doing. And the last tree is her intrinsic tree. This is very good. Holding it down increases your damage. It also heals you over time and makes you able to dodge attacks as well. Be careful though, because as you're holding this and as you're dodging attacks, you'll run out of intrinsic energy and think that you're safe, and then you'll start taking hits and stuff like that. But you're Miss Marvel, and once you get leveled up, it won't matter. You die, so what? Teammate's busy, AI's dumb. Doesn't matter. Miss Marvel can just take care of herself. She is the quintessential self-sufficient all-around character. I honestly can't wait to play other characters just to see if they can even come close to how good it feels to play Miss Marvel. It is damn fun. She feels effective, and Polymorph helps that. It's basically Rage Light. Now, anytime that any enemies attack you and you dodge them with Polymorph, boom, you automatically hit them back. The great thing about this is even if you don't have intrinsic energy, as long as you're tapping it correctly, not holding it down, it won't work if you're holding it down. But if you're tapping the button, so if you get in the habit of tapping the button instead of just holding down your intrinsic energy for defense, you're pretty much just a god. Again, this isn't as effective. I guess you could rage toggle, but from what intrinsic toggle or whatever you want to call it. But from what I've found, it's not nearly as effective as Hulk. Hulk has a good way to build his own meter while attacking and taking damage, and that's what makes the rage pumping so effective on him. Now we have the modifier for that. After you parry, you can hit a light attack. It does flyback, so I'm not a big fan of this. I am more of a fan of this with the slam. It breaks block. Doesn't knock people away. Medium stun, medium damage, high impact, so it will affect enemies. This is very good. A lot of time I'm using dodge, so I'm not using this too much, but compared to what I initially thought, this is not completely skill-based. If you're just holding down intrinsic and you have meter, this is perfectly good to get out. It will stun. So any of those stun missions you got, yeah, use this bad boy. Very good, very good. Here's where intrinsic's power starts to really shine as you start gaining health over time while polymorph is active. You know, this can be in conjunction with other gear perks that allow you to gain willpower back, and making her a very effective tank. Very effective tank. This is an ability where part of me absolutely loves this ability, and part of me can't tell if it just doesn't do enough damage for the intrinsic meter use. This will drain your entire intrinsic meter. Even with all of the skills and later on that you'll see that lower the cost of this, I'm still trying to figure out if this is worth it or not. For pound, dollar for dollar, this move right here, while you are embiggened with all of the embiggen skills and perks that you can do, this can help you make your embiggen just last forever. If you're killing a lot of, squishy but overwhelming enemies, this will just clear a room. You can get knocked out of this though, so keep that in mind. And this can be used while embiggened or if you're holding down polymorph. So if you're trying to use power attacks or holding a button down while you have your intrinsic power toggled, aka your polymorph, you will transition into this ability or this ability instead of that. This mostly I have this happen when I'm using my intrinsic power and I'm trying to do power attacks. I'll end up doing this instead. I do not like this move as much as her double barrel power attack, just the normal heavy attack power attack. Not the biggest fan of this. So what you want to do is let go of intrinsic power, charge this up, and once you start charging up, then you can re-engage her intrinsic power for the damage boost. Very effective attack, though, when you look at this. And I think this is better to be used in embiggen and single target situations, but there's better ways to do damage. From my experience, the meaty high power attacks just don't seem to do as much damage as you could just fit in with quick light attacks or abusing things to cancel animations in order to just get attacks out faster. Overall will pound for pound be your best damage that I've found. And that's just her main abilities, her main skills trees. Very good, very tight. She's very balanced. The only downside that she has is her inability to attack things at extremely long range. She can get almost to extremely long range with her high 5 heroic, and we'll talk about her heroics right now that we're in the specialty tree. So here's where we start actually getting into the whole build choice area. I was very keen to see what the skill trees looked like after playing beta and only getting one skill tree, but overall I think this is a fairly decent system. It doesn't soak up too many of your skill points leveling, but it also gives you some good options to go down. So once you start being able to unlock your specialty and mastery trees, that's really when you feel your character build comes around. And so let's just get on with it right now. Healing Spirit is her first support heroic ability. This allows her in an AoE stagger enemies as well as heal teammates. And this is broken. It breaks block. It heals your teammates, it heals yourself, and as you'll see later on with some of the options you get here, this is just too damn good. This ability, it needs a nerf, good lord. So your first step in here is Spirit Walk. Okay, the shamans. Recovers 65% additional willpower over a period of several seconds when activating Healing Spirit. Wow. So not only do you get just a huge initial burst of willpower, but then over time, you have a nice little healing over time here that will help keep you topped off, help keep you in the fray, and allow you to kind of ignore some, small damages that aren't staggering you. There's actually one skill tree short. I never realized that. I thought you had enough skills to buy every skill in the game, and now I'm like, wait, there's one skill tree I didn't get. What happened? Oh my god. This is not good for the video. Now we have Healing Spirit Specialization. Alright, we'll go down the street first, sorry. Now we have Team Spirit. Activating Healing Spirit will automatically revive down teammates in addition to restoring their willpower. What? Okay. So now you don't have to put yourself in harm's way to revive enemies. You can literally hero jump by, land next to them, AoE heal over time, armor buff. It's absolutely fabulous. Now we have our two choosing abilities. After this looks really nice. I probably would have got this. I swear I thought it looked like I was going to be able to get every single skill tree point, but apparently I'm 1 point short from getting every skill point. That's unfortunate. So let's look at Healing Spirit Specialization 1. Now the way that these work is you will unlock this one skill ability, so it only takes one skill point, and then you get to choose between one of three options. So let's look at the first one, Will to Live. Grants an additional charge of Healing Spirit. Absolutely wonderful. Now, typically what I do in this build is I'm going to switch between this as well as the Will to Fight, which is the other choose your own adventures extra charge. So typically you want to choose one of the two remaining options here and then a charge from the other side. For me, what I'm doing is can be activated while I'm downed. I just like this as quality of life. If things are going crazy, if I fall down dead or whatever, I don't have to rely on my teammates. I can get back up, and then I'm healing over time, and I've got an armor buff. I probably don't need to get worried about getting knocked back down again. Now, there's this one, Team Willpower is fully restored when activating Healing Spirit. I'm not really... it feels like you're either at full willpower or you're not, and it doesn't really matter other than that. Now we're looking at Focused Heart. Activating Healing Spirit automatically grants 100% intrinsic energy for allies and yourself. I could see uses for this, but as I said, there are better options in my opinion, mostly that being Inner Peace. Increases the duration of Healing Spirit's residual effect by 8 seconds, essentially extending the heal over time as well as the armor buff that you get. So overall, Healing Spirit, this is so good. So good. Overall, I'll either be choosing one extra skill point here and going for Inner Peace, or I'll be going for an extra charge here and Life Spark, and that's kind of how I've been building it. You can just go for 3 charges. That's still effective. You're still going to get good heal over time around you. You're going to get a bit of an armor buff. But overall, yeah, I would go with one of those two options. Next, we're going to go to her Assault Heroic ability. This is a very interesting one. This changes the way that your ability works by going down it, but we'll just start at the beginning. Amazing ability. This is a get out of my face, get away from me, and as you'll see later on with the options that are available here, there's a lot of cool things you can do with this ability. Now, it's not quite as powerful as some of the other characters' Assault Heroics, but what this does allow you to do that some people can't do is reliably control the battlefield. One ability in particular at this is very useful. It's kind of janky to line up, just like, with the way the camera works and the way some of the hitboxes work with clipping terrain. But as long as you're landing these, they could be quite effective. So the first upgrade here, it just grants you, boom, baseline, an additional charge of high 5. So you're already working with 2 charges of this ability. And with a lot of the synergies that Miss Marvel has, having multiple charges of abilities is quite good. It means you can bank one ability up while letting the other one fill up, go on cooldown. You can use one for fun, use it to control the battlefield, and then still have one as like a backup. Because keep in mind, these heroic abilities, as soon as you initiate them, you go invincible for the period of time that you're casting this ability. So they aren't just useful for the abilities themselves in this game, but they are also useful for abusing those invincibility frames, getting yourself out of bad situations, helping survive through damage that would otherwise kill you or knock you down. So try to think about them as utility as well as offensive. So even your Assault Heroics are going to help you, get out of tough situations if you're quick enough on the key press. And now we have Backhand, which is a specialization. And what this allows you to do is refund a portion of heroic assault energy. This is on defeating enemies. And as you can see, you have very different percentages here. And we'll go over the different... what these different high 5 is your baseline, up high is a modifier that we'll go over quite soon here, and as well as down low and too slow. As you see, you think up high is really good. It's got that 20%, but here's the thing, it only hits one enemy. And from my testing with this, because I was really trying to figure out what's the best to use with this to get resets, relying on up high is not the best. If you are very high power compared to the content, I could see up high being good. Just getting, refund a portion of the heroic energy. But overall, I think that there are other options that can net you more. So we got to look at it. So you need 5 enemies killed for high 5 killed for down low, and then a whopping, Or am I doing the maths wrong here? Whatever. But you need quite a large amount. 8, 16. So it's 2.5 enemies need to be killed. Math is hard. And then 5 for too slow. But overall, you're going to be generating a lot of heroic charges anyways, but you will find that this fills up good even when you're not using up high. I don't recommend up high. Maybe in a boss fight, but most of the boss fights in this game, you still have a lot of enemies around. So let's just get into the specializations to choose your own adventures. Initially, we have, as I said, up high increases damage against a single focus target by 25%. I do not recommend this. It is nice, but I don't think the damage is worth the trade-off of making it single target. Here's what I've been experimenting with after working with all of these. This is the one that I found is very nice. You can, if lined up correctly, take every enemy in front of you and just push them into a big group right up against a wall. I've started off fights by just taking almost every enemy that spawned and just shoving them all into a little corner. And then you can do some very unsuperhero things to them once you've done that. So it's very nice with other abilities, dropping intrinsic orbs, which I think is the optimal way to build Miss Marvel. You essentially turn enemies into heroic orb pinatas with half of your movesets. And this is also another viable option. One thing that I found that was odd happening is sometimes it would just hit the first enemy that it came in contact with and cause an explosion there, which would actually result in it not doing as much damage as it could. I think that this, if you're going to use it for this, the way to do it is probably to just hit terrain next to a bunch of enemies, but I just don't. I wasn't feeling this is as powerful. This move right here is the way to go. You're invincible during it, so you don't have to worry about the long animation. It's guaranteed to siphon enemies into a small area. And if you can get a bunch of flyers in the air with this, you are generating much more intrinsic energy than any of the other abilities. Maybe this can as well with the explosion, but overall from my testing, this is the best. We'll go to our specialization on high 5 too. So now based on the high 5 specialization, you're going to see this trend going along with all of these. It has a chance to create regen packs. Could be useful, but overall, I already do insane healing, revives. I don't need regen packs. Regen packs can litter quite easily anyways. This is what I like on all of my skills, heroic orbs. I'm all about the heroics. You want to get that embiggen time up. You want to be able to heal and revive yourself and your allies as much as possible. So this is the way to go. Heroic orbs, hands down. I don't see... Intrinsic comes back quite quickly. You don't need that. Regen, hey, I can heal myself. Maybe for other characters, that could be a viable option, but I think on Miss Marvel, you just want to abuse her heroics. You don't need damage on her. You just do CC. You just do so much damage, so much crowd control, and you just feel healthy. And even if you get knocked down, you just hit the button real quick. Maybe nobody noticed, right? Lastly is a decent secondary option, and the only reason I say decent is because this, as you can see, causes a very high chance to create intrinsic orbs. Not so much with too slow, but overall over 50% chance is very nice. But in general, as I said, I really value these heroic orbs, and 40% chance is not bad, especially as I said, when you're freaking killing flyers who tend to be made of paper but are very difficult for Miss Marvel to deal with. It's a match made in heaven. Now that we've looked at her heroic assault ability, let's look at the wonderful, wonderful embiggen, Miss Marvel's ultimate heroic ability. Did you ever want to cosplay as your little sister when she was 5 and she went into your room while you were at school and destroyed all your toys? Embiggen is the skill for you. As we'll see with some of the passives and other choose your own adventure choices that we can have with this, is very effective skill here. Definitely, Embiggen is great. Right here, first upgrade, delicious. Increase the duration of Embiggen by 5 seconds. My biggest complaint while using this skill when I was playing the game in the beta was just how short it lasts. It feels so powerful in Embiggen. You're dodging staggers enemies in an AoE around you. It is absolutely lovely. You can just grab giant enemies and crush them to death. It is absolutely wonderful. It feels great and visceral. You feel powerful. You feel like you do good damage. It is overall very nice. I'm still testing some of these ones on the heroic specializations, so bear with me on this, but overall I think I've got it kind of cut down to a couple clear choices on each of these. So here we go, basically extend it by another 5 seconds. Very nice here, very nice. Now we have Embiggen taunts all nearby enemies, drawing aggro and focusing their attention away from teammates. This is a viable option on a tank build here possibly, but overall, I don't think it's necessary. I found that taunt's not too useful. Maybe if you're just playing with a glass cannon, Widow, or Thor, or something like that, I could see taunt being useful. Maybe if you don't have a Hulk and you kind of want to be able to control, but I haven't found taunt to be needed. Maybe in the future, maybe they'll add enemies that you need to taunt. Maybe they'll focus on people with low health or something, and so you need someone to taunt them off to disengage that or something. Could be interesting gameplay there with taunt because overall it doesn't feel that powerful compared to other things. Then we have Doctor's Orders. Every enemy defeated while Embiggen has a 25% chance to drop a regen pack. Again, I'm not concerned with my healing. As Miss Marvel, I do that my own. Now we have Embiggen Spec 2, and let's look at these options. So this is the one I'm kind of on the fence about. Defeating enemies while Embiggened extends the duration of the ability by 1 second. It is entirely possible to just chain a back-to-back Embiggen if there is that many enemies around you, and you are killing there obviously more than one per second. That is ideal, but that's not likely. Still good. I've had some goes of it where we're doing the thing where, you gotta control a point, and a lot of those guys that want to commit suicide on you are running up at you, and you're just using your intrinsic spin whirlwind, and you're just killing them left and right. Embiggen can last forever, but what I found is I'm kind of liking the critical attack right now. It does feel good, but this also is predicate on having good crit. Right now my character has a lot of crit, and even though crit doesn't scale that great, it's still pretty powerful. So see, 30 proficiency is getting me about 13% crit chance right now, and I feel like that's enough. There's some other perks that you can get on your gear that will allow you to increase your perk chance on certain things. Right now my power attacks have increased crit chance. I think I'm at 20 something if this is additive. If it's multiplicative, it's going to be less obviously, but we don't know those exact numbers yet. We're probably going to need someone to actually go look into the reverse engineer the files of the game to really see what we're looking at here. And your other option here, very good. This is probably the way to go. I was kind of just testing crit. Every enemy defeated has a 25% chance to drop heroic orbs. So while this move increases your Embiggen and will focus on just your Embiggen, this is all around. Drop heroic orbs. I don't know if heroic orbs are shared, but I am pretty sure I've seen teammates pick them up. So that is also why this is quite powerful. Let other people drop healing orbs. You can do that baseline. So focus on dropping heroic orbs. Get those heroics out. Heroics in this game are absolutely busted. You're invincible. You do huge damage and usually huge crowd control. They're usually unblockable. Very good. Now here's our basic movement abilities. You don't really need to look at these, but we're going to go over them just for the sake of completionists here. So this is a polymorph dodge. This is just your basic dodge. Every character does that. And then obviously you have double dodge. Most characters have a double dodge. If you double press it, you can dodge at a little bit longer of a length. Most people are probably just going to be doing the double dodge because they're just going to be spamming the button. And now we have this. This is what gives her a little bit more options for breaking shields. Sometimes you don't want to charge up attacks. Sometimes you need to get out of a group of enemies. This is very good for you. I believe the little bit of time, I've never been knocked out of the animation for this, so I have a feeling that there's iframes involved here, at least on the beginning of the jump, or it's just such a fast animation that most enemies haven't hit me yet. I'll keep you posted on that. And now her swinging abilities. Honestly, swinging does not seem faster than just run jumping. So far, from my experience on every character, besides Tony Stank, run jumping is the optimal movement strategy. It's just the fastest. This is actually slower. As you see, she kind of hovers. If it sent you out forward like a dart or something, you know, like projected you out, it would be quite good. And that's her specialty tree. And now we're just going to come on to the mastery tree. This is a complete series of choose your own adventure books. For every single skill test, you need to hit level 15 in order to start unlocking these, and they typically provide very powerful bonuses to already augment your very powerful effects. Getting these, once you've already filled out most of your skill tree, is very strong, and these provide very potent augments to all of your abilities. You'll have Melee Upgrade 1. The first option with that is boost critical attack damage by 15% while air juggling opponents. Now, this is not critical attack chance, this is critical attack damage. So this is going to increase your actual criticals overall. Then we have critical attack damage of traversal attacks. And this is going to be, again, just the attack damage, not the actual crit chance itself. And now we have increases the amount of heroic energy gained by 1% from dealing damage with light and heavy attacks. Obviously, you've seen I've been going on a very heroic-centric build, and that is why this is the choice for me. Now we have Melee Specialization 2 in utility. This is Combo Finish Mastery. Increases the damage of all combo finishers by 25%. I think that this is a viable option, but I'm not always doing combo finishers, so I feel like it can be partially unused. Boost range attack damage by 15%. This can be good depending on what your build's like, and also depending on what this affects. If ranged power attacks and your grabs and things like that count as ranged for the effects of things like this, if your ranged rating counts for your ranged power attack damage, this can be a very viable option. Her grab and her crush just destroys an enemy, and it feels so visceral. And now we have increased stun damage by 15%. This is just me accentuating her CC. She has at least medium stun on a lot of her abilities, and this, synergizes well with that. But honestly, all of these can be optimal. This might be the best one right here, but overall, I'm kind of just feeling the CC aspect. Damage isn't really my concern. I'm surviving, I can't be killed, and if I am killed, I can't be kept down, so I just like to stun enemies around me in order to give myself more opportunities to not get hit. Now we have Melee Specialization 3. Performing a takedown spawns an Intrinsic Orb. Again, this is very cut and dry. We have Intrinsic Orb, Heroic Orb, Regen Pack. Regen Pack, bleh, doo-doo. Heroic Orb, yay, great. Insert Kanye meme. Oh, I'm sorry, Drake meme. Wait, who's who? I always get them mixed up. Don't tell anyone. Now we have our ranged upgrade mastery tree. Again, choose your own adventure style. Increases the power and weight of Whip Fist, causing stronger enemy reaction. It just kind of upgrades your basic punch. Maybe I should test this. Maybe this breaks shields or something like this. And maybe this works very well in tandem with this, right? But that's melee, never mind. It doesn't work in tandem with that. Oh, I'll just shut up and then maybe cut that out of the video. This is the one I like, Concussive Blast on Impact. It's going to cause a little bit of AoE. And overall, I've just found it more useful. The only reason I don't like this necessarily, and I do see it could be useful, is I feel like the nice thing about Whip Fist range attack, and the bad thing about it is it causes you to become stationary. You can't use your intrinsic, as I talked about earlier, and you can't move while you're attacking. You can jump in the air and attack. You can move around while you're holding down the trigger in this mode, but you can't, once you've got your fist wound up, you're not really moving around while you're doing that. And so I feel like this will cause you to just be froze a little longer in that animation, and if you know me, you know I am not too keen on getting myself stuck in animations. That's when you get a rocket to the back of the head. Now we have Range Specialization 2. Reduces the cost of holding onto an enemy by 40%. That's quite nice. Prevents being interrupted from enemy attacks while holding on an enemy. This is what I'm going with. You can still get knocked out of it. This does not make you invulnerable. This does not make you invincible. This just merely stops basic non-CC attacks from making you drop enemies at the drop of a hat. Just very useful if you're trying to grab people. If you're not, hey, go for this. This will be very, very nice. You can hold on to an enemy for a lot longer without burning through your intrinsic energy. And this is also a viable option, but I found that, with high CC, with high stun on your melees, you can grab people fairly easy. You just don't start off trying to grab enemies, right? That's the play paradigm. You don't want to just start off with the grab. You want to go in, hit them, stagger them, knock them down, cause crowd control, and then you want to grab onto them, and then they're at your mercy. So we have range specialization 3 here. 15% chance to generate a regen pack after slamming or throwing a grabbed enemy. Blech, doo-doo. 25% chance to generate a heroic orb after slamming or throwing an enemy. Amazing. And then you have intrinsic 40% chance. It's a good chance. So that's the thing. The heroic orbs or less chance. This is absolutely awful. That 15% chance, not only do our regen packs, maybe in the future, maybe in hard content, you want to do that. You want to be going 3 charges in your healing spirit. But until we see that, until we've hit the power cap and we've seen some end game content, if we even have any of that, for now, I think heroic orbs are the way to go. So now we're going to go to efficiency. This is going to affect multiple different things. Efficiency upgrade 1 reduces the intrinsic energy activation cost by 40% when triggering the polymorph ability. Increases willpower generation from Shining Will by 25%. If it's just a flat 25%, the willpower generation from Shining Will is 4%. So that means that it will increase it to 5%. Not really the biggest upgrade here, but I think there are other things. Increase heroic energy regeneration by 15% while using polymorph. As you can see, I have a theme here going. I'm all about the heroics. Specialization 2, polymorph reduction. Reduces the sustained intrinsic energy cost by 25% while using polymorph ability. Does not apply to the activation costs. So activating your polymorph ability immediately causes a charge, like credit card charge to it, and then holding it down will cause it to drain. This is why pumping it isn't as good for Kamala. She can't build it faster than she can spend it. If you're really worried about that, right here we have the cost of activating it, right? Other options we have: increase the damage of melee attacks by 12.5% using polymorph. For a glass cannon build, I would definitely probably go with that. I like just keeping my polymorph up high. It's that good. It causes damage, it causes defense, it heals me. I much rather have more of it than a little bit more damage. That's my thoughts and feelings. I don't think any one of these are set in stone or right. Also reduces damage received by 15% while using polymorph. Definitely a viable option. Use that in tandem with her taunt skills with Embiggen. You just, between the armor buff from your heal and taunting enemies and then damage reduction while you're in polymorph, you could have enemies drop intrinsic orbs instead of heroic orbs. There are very many viable options for Miss Marvel here, and it's all about finding which one works for you, your character build, and what's going on. This is what's working for me so far. This feels extremely strong. I feel like the enemies are loot pinatas. So I'm going with heroic for a bit right now. Increases the maximum amount of polymorph intrinsic meter by 20%. Again, like I said, there's so much utility in the intrinsic meter tree and what it does all around. I found it hard for me to want to specialize into any one part of it in the efficiency tree. Increases the amount of stun damage while polymorph is active. Again, that's another viable option. And with your melee stun, I don't know if those are additive or multiplicative, or if maybe just the highest one takes account. That would be awful. So this is a viable option as well if you just want to be a CC machine. Increased chance to land critical hit while polymorph is active. Very nice, very nice. Hit flat 15% crit chance. That's already, that's higher than 30 points into proficiency. So that is nothing to sneeze at. Definitely nothing to sneeze at. I think that might actually be better than melee attack damage. It depends on how these things scale. It depends on how crit damage scales. If you got high crit damage, or even if you just have high crit damage, this might be a viable option. So look into this, look at your character build. As you can see, a lot of these choices are all about what's going on in the mission you're doing. What are your perks and your gear stats leaning you towards? Now, overall, your gear stats are not that important. Once you get higher power, they start to mean a little bit more. But earlier in the game, your stats aren't doing a lot. A lot of these numbers are really pathetic. 16 proficiency was giving me something like a joke of crit chance. So these numbers, once you get higher in power, they start to actually mean something then. But up until that point, just power up your highest power gear till you can get to the power cap. And lastly, here we have our last intrinsic tree. It's the superhero endurance. Reduces the intrinsic energy cost for polymorph attacks, whirlwind, and seismic slam. Very nice for the whirlwind. I've been testing this whirlwind build. I do like it a lot, but I'm still on the fence about it. Here we have another stun option to get your CC out. As you can see, this affects your Morning Star, Palm Strike, Whirlwind Slam, and Seismic Slam. Now, this is all in your intrinsic tree. The Palm Strike and the Morning Star, you can only use one or the other. Whenever you activate her Polymorph Evade and you parry, where she does a little hip check, you can then hit X or Y to do Palm Strike or Morning Star. So that's what this is talking about in case you couldn't recall on that. Overall, I much rather have just reduce the cost of it. They are expensive. Increases the critical attack chance for polymorph attacks. This might be better. It literally might be better. As a matter of fact, I think I might test it out and see how much more damage I do with it right now compared to what the consumption is. Because, yeah, if having like a more reliable crit chance, almost a 30% crit chance now instead of 13, it might be very viable. And now we have increased the size and parry window of the hip check ability. Essentially, just what this lets you do is increase your window of opportunity that you have for using hip check. This might not be the best one. Like I said, this is still alternative and being tested out. Use what goes for you. Shining Will increases the recovery weight of willpower. The lower the amount becomes up to 15%. Not really that great, to be honest. If it's a flat percentage, this could be pretty disgusting. If it's the lower your health is, the higher the healing, this could just be the best choice here for survivability, especially in appropriate or stronger than yourself content. This might be the way to go as well. And then we have Nimble Reflexes, temporarily inhibits draining of intrinsic energy for 1.5 seconds after successfully countering or parrying an attack. So you see, this is something where you could just, if you're constantly countering and parrying attacks, you could, in theory, just be using intrinsic energy for free. This could be powerful used in conjunction if it works with something like Whirlwind. So you go in, you do a dodge, and immediately after your character hip checks, and keep in mind when you say dodge, or when it says countering or parrying, they kind of worded some of these a little wrong. They should have never have called it her polymorph dodge. We're going to have to call it polymorph dodge from now on, and I'm going to have to get in the habit of saying that. So there's a polymorph dodge, and that polymorph dodge will trigger her hip check, which is a counter or parry. It looks like it counts as both. So in theory, you could hip check someone, do the counter after activating your polymorph dodge, and then start into your whirlwind attack. Keep in mind, this says inhibits draining of intrinsic energy. We'll have to test it and see if this affects the initial cost. If this affects the initial cost, this could be quite powerful. If you're hip checking, this actually could lead to the ability to make intrinsic energy pumping usable on Miss Marvel. So that's something to think about. If you play a lot of Hulk and you're trying to play Miss Marvel, maybe look into this. Let me know how it feels. With any of these, let me know how these feel to you. Let me know how that goes. And yeah, that's my Miss Marvel build. Overall, tips and tricks. Stay mobile. Try not to jump around and use air attacks too much. If you're hey guys, hey, why don't you guys come to my YouTube channel, watch my videos, like and subscribe, get out of the anthill, do something with your life. Come on. Thank you very much. Yeah, like I said, hit that like button. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Sorry this is so long, but there's a lot to go over here. A lot, theory crafting and stuff that we're working with here. It's very early into the game cycle, but overall, I've had her level capped for over a day now. I'm grinding her power up in an accelerated way. I'm going to come out with a video showing you guys the best way to power up your gear, and at least the fastest way from my experience, the things you want to be doing. Stay tuned for that. Please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button, even if you don't ring the bell, even if you just do it as a token. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the positive feedback. I appreciate the negative feedback. If you want to come in and knee-jerk and downvote me, that's fine. Thank you so much for just coming in and watching me and giving me the time for that. I really do appreciate it, and I appreciate all the people that have come through here. Obviously, the Anthill's not going to let me do this right now, so thank you so much. Check out Steam. I'm also going to be posting a guide on Steam that's going to go in tandem with this. Think of it as the companion piece. This is overall a more complete product. You're going to get more detail from this, but if you want to see the basics, you want brass tacks, there's also going to be my Steam guide. Throw me some kudos for that. I put in a lot of work for that. I spent an entire day building assets and stuff like that. You should see my folders. It looks disgusting. Thank you so much again. Have fun with Miss Marvel, and as soon as I power up other characters, I will be bringing you my build, what I think you want to be doing with them, and what their role is in a team. Miss Marvel's role in this team is she just does everything. End of the day. Who needs Spider-Man when you got Miss Marvel? Arm slinger for life, baby. Let's go. Take it easy.